All right, and welcome back to the Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast. Here, it is our yearly feature on the recruiting class. So this is the 2025 recruiting class, and we are lucky enough to be joined by the head coach himself, Dan Jackson. Dan, welcome to the podcast. How the heck you doing?
Doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on. We got a lot of guys to talk about, a lot of good players too, great ones. So excited about the future of the program.
Good. And I should say, welcome back. You've been on the podcast with us multiple times before, but welcome back. So
you guys have just upgraded over the years, though. So it's just I've been on before, but it's fun to see you guys growing.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into this class, just got to thank two of our sponsors here. Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, 11 different dealerships across the state and one into Iowa. Chad and I are both ready for this blizzard that's coming. We got our Kubotas ready. We got our snowblowers attached. We are good to go. Maybe you don't have your snowblower, Chad. Sorry about that.
But no, it's on there. Snow. It's 100% ready to go, and that's why we're not getting this blizzard. Y'all are welcome that I paid so much for a nice snowblower. Because now we ain't got no snow.
Exactly. This is our fault. But if you too would like to help with getting no snow, you can go one of the 11 Kubota dealers and pick yourself up one. Also, would like to thank Northwestern Mutual, sponsor Chris Schenkel down in Sioux Falls, his office. Hey, it's tax season. So maybe you're finding you have some extra money, want to think about your future investments, maybe want to look at your retirements, some life insurance, whatever it may be. Get a hold of Chris Schenkel and his team down in Sioux Falls at Northwestern Mutual. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, we got to see Mark winning the Alex's Lemonade Stand trophy, which they were a title sponsor for. So thank you, Northwestern Mutual, for all that you do, and the Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. With that, we will have no more sponsorships for this episode, but we do appreciate those two. We are here to talk ball, and we are here to talk about 2025 recruits. Before we jump into these players, Dan, how the heck did you do this in the last month?
Right. First, we couldn't have done it without the administration. I mean, I kind of came in New Year's Eve, took the job, was up here a few days later. And first big recruiting piece we had was obviously developing rapport and relationships with our guys and current players, which I couldn't feel better about. And then, balancing, getting a staff in here and then being able to just logistically, everything that goes into signing one of these kids is a lot, from the communication piece and the relationship part, and then getting them on visits and the execution of a visit. Couldn't have done it without Justin leading the way and Tammy and Slade and the whole crew over in the athletic department just helping us because there's a lot that goes into signing one of these guys. Nonetheless, 40 of them.
Yeah, right. Because you basically had to re-recruit everyone, current players and the signees that we had in December.
Yeah, the current players would have been much more simple if I could have got in front of them right away. I think they would have felt the energy and immediate connection. But going through the phone calls with our current players was a really cool process because they were going through a hard time, and then I was embracing the challenge. And so we got close quickly. And then, really that they were my main focus just initially. The guys were on this roster that have been a part of the build and the winning and that understand the culture. And then it was flipping gears to the 25s. And I knew all along that we had until February 5th to make these guys official. But every day that went by where you weren't able to connect with the committed 2025 guys and the previous staff and then finding new ones made it more challenging. So I can't thank our staff enough. I mean, the cool thing is when you hire, 10 new assistant coaches, people can look at that as a stressful deal and it can be, but they all had connections. They all had players that they had recruited before or places they'd been. And, when you hire a really talented group of coaches, they've evaluated guys. And so that was neat for us to be able to put it all together that way.
Okay.
And just how lucky are we? I'm sorry. I was just going to say, just how lucky are we to have Justin Sell? Like, to me, he has been key to a lot of the success and continuity that we've had.
No, he's integral. And he was integral for me coming back because there's got to be alignment from the top for us to have success. And it's like that in all of our sports. But, and it really at South Dakota State is cool because it starts with our president. And President Dunn is consistent and steady and as good of a person as you're going to ever meet and as humble as a president as I've ever been around of a university. And then being able to then work with Justin, he's the ideal athletic director to work for because big vision, great energy, going to work with you. And he's going to work together with you. And so he's a huge piece of everything that we do. And we're going to try to, he and I talk, I want to do everything we can at a Power 4 level here. And I think it takes a little bit more effort and it takes some innovation and it takes some creativeness, but there isn't any reason that we can't be the best and the best at everything.
There we go. All right, let's dig in. This is fun. I love this, and we have a lot of people that do too. So let's start at quarterback with Preston Otter, 6'4", 205. He went to a prep school in the Northeast for a year, 3-year starter in Michigan. This last year, 67% completion, 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I really like his tape. But those are some beautiful fields he's playing on too in the highlight tapes.
you played some cool places when you go to prep school.
Yeah. So tell us about Preston. How did you find him?
So Preston is a guy that Coach Eisness was one of the first guys to get here with me. And so he and I were breaking down quarterbacks initially in 25, and he was going through his old list. And Preston was nearly offered at Northern Illinois, and he'd been recruited there previously. And a coach is like, let's watch his tape. And the things that I know about Preston, he was like the valedictorian in high school. So like in terms of acumen and intelligence, he's got it. But he also has the right amount of moxie and charisma that the guys are going to want to follow and competitiveness. But when you watch his tape, the thing that stood out to me is in today's football, you have to be able to create outside of the pocket. And, really when you watch a football game, guys, how many pass plays specifically go exactly as planned? Very few, And when you watch Preston, Preston's been clocked in the 4.5s. So he's got really good speed, but he doesn't just immediately look to run. His pocket presence and keeps his vision downfield. He makes some throws that sometimes, even on his highlights, they're going to make you nervous, but he makes the play. And so he's aggressive, he's confident, super athletic. And I think he's a guy that's going to be 230 pounds, when it's all said and done. He's got a great frame. And Preston's just one of those guys that he's gritty and he's been through some things in his life. And so I think those are the type of guys that you want leading your program. I think he's absolute steal. I can't wait to get him on campus. He will push. He will get here and make his presence known pretty early.
Yeah, just that frame and the tape. Looking at his high school's Twitter or his prep school's Twitter page, they're sending some guys to different places around the country. So he's not playing against any slouches there. Like that's for sure.
And the cool thing is he has to learn new players because there's new guys in and new guys out a bunch. So he's going to have some experience with, the importance of building relationship and connection with receivers and his teammates early because you also go to a prep school. It's not like he's the only quarterback on the roster either. There's a lot of talented guys that he has to beat out and compete with. And then he's living far from home. He's living in essentially a dorm type setup. So like this transition is just going to be so smooth for him.
Sure. Okay. Next up, 4 running backs. And yesterday you had some surprise steals that you pulled over on everyone here. Pretty dang exciting. Kelvin Hewley Jr. and Corey Blair both signed up yesterday. Kind of surprise day ofs for folks. I don't know which one you want to talk about first, but go ahead.
Let's start with Calvin. So surprise for a lot of folks. And really, we knew that we obviously needed to bring in some running backs. And running back is a position that I believe if you get the right guy, they can impact your program early. And, you can get them out there as freshmen. I expect all of these guys to compete for that. Calvin it's a funny story. So Luke Bankston, our receiver coach, I like giving you some behind the scenes. He's in there, we're watching film. We were watching PFF from our guys from a year ago. And this kid followed both of us on social media. And I had watched his film and knew he was good, but he was committed to Arkansas State. And he had NC State. And he had all these offers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me contact this kid. So we shoot him a call. He doesn't answer. I'm like, okay, might not be interested. He sends me a text and he said, Coach, I'm praying with my mom right now. I'm going to call you when I'm done. I was like, okay. Calls back. What were you praying about? He's like, well, there's just been some uncertainty in recruiting and I had all these opportunities and, for whatever reason, I just don't, it hasn't worked out. I said, buddy, so it was just a unique timing thing. I don't think things happen for a reason. And this dude is physically ready to play, but He loves football. You don't grow up in Alabama and play at the high school that he played at and not be a ball guy. So he's going to be 5'9", 205 pounds, tough to tackle, physical guy, great vision and patience at the same time. He's one of these kids you can get on the rock and he's going to get you, he can get you 5'5", then 50. So I couldn't, and he's playing against some 5-stars out there too. I mean, he's playing against great competition. And, coming from the South, obviously, I was joking with him about the weather and he was like, Coach, I want to play in the league. I got to show people I could play anywhere. So he's going to be, he's a talent for sure. He's certainly a talent.
And he did play in the largest league in Alabama, 7A, 994 yards, 6.8 yards per carry, 13 total touchdowns. So the production is there against some big time competition, like you're talking about, Dan.
And he carries the ball a ton, and with just his frame, he's going to be a guy that's durable and such an important deal at that position, especially here where we're going to pound the rock and be physical. And he's excited. He did his research about our offensive line we got coming back, so he's juiced. He's juiced up. And I sent him. I sent all these guys like Pierre Strong highlights and Isaiah highlights, and I went all the way back to Zenner with some of the highlights. The boys are excited to kind of carry on the tradition.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Corey Blair then. Corey Mr. Blair. Is that he goes by Mr.?
I love it.
Mr. Man. I think he's Mr. TD or something like that on Twitter. I mean, Corey, you guys you're need to get him on the podcast pretty early. He's got great personality and energy. I was FaceTime with him earlier. This guy so different back. Corey's going to be like 6'3", and I think he can be 6'3", probably 220 in his he might be able to even get bigger than that. But the thing that stands out when you watch Corey's tape is he's a really fluid runner that is kind of a one-cut slasher type that we've seen here that have been really effective. He's going to fit in well with like our outside zone scheme and things of that nature. But the cool thing about him is when you get about halfway through his tape, you watch him play some receiver, and he runs phenomenal routes and has like tremendous ball skills. And throwing the football to running backs to me is such an advantage. And it's like a mismatch on every play. It's zone, sit it down. It's man, it's a linebacker on you. And so Corey will be a guy that'll be able to do those things.
Yeah. He has that one wheel route, I think, in his highlights up the far sideline. That's just like, ooh, how do you stop
that was
that?
the one. That was the one for me when I was like, okay, you're going to high point the ball over somebody and out of the backfield. He super confident, high energy. His dad's a great guy. I mean, his dad's all in, man. He's sending me, go big, go blue, go Jacks and stuff in the morning. His dad. We got Jackrabbit fans down there. That was another Luke Bankson special that he had kind of known that area from coming from Virginia Union and those things. He had been recruiting some of those areas and had a connection with the high school coach.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah, 10.7 yards per carry is the stat to know for him. So
that'll do.
All right. Next up,
he had 164 yards receiving too, so he got to catch the ball well.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So James Basinger, all Colorado running back, best running back in Colorado, any class.
Yep.
1,700 yards, 25 touchdowns. Crazy. And I know I saw the signing day thing yesterday. And his coach said, we're known for running the ball, but he broke all of our records too.
Yep.
So we'll talk about James a little bit.
James is as solid as they come. He's got like strong leadership traits about him, which he's got all the talent in the world. He's bigger than his film looks too. I mean, he's a thick dude that's going to be able to run some guys over, can pull away from you. He's going to be able to pick up the offense really, really easily too. I mean, he's a sharp kid that's going to be able to digest a lot of information, do a lot of things for us, line him in different places. I mean, he's all ball. On his official visit, it's just constant talking football, constant. But there's just certain guys that you meet that you feel like they've got something unique about them in terms of confidence and ability to lead. And to me, James was a no-brainer. And I believed in him to the point where I'm doing everything I can up in his scholarship, all sorts of things to make sure that he knows that the new staff, how much we believe in him. Cool. And he's phenomenal. I mean, those three guys right there. I mean, that's as good of a group as we've signed that when I was here.
Yeah. All right. Josh Myers then, Sioux Falls, Lincoln, an absolute burner. You know, you watch his highlight tape and he flies all around. I could not find any stats for this young man, but you just watch the tape and you know he scored some long touchdown runs. So what can you say about Joshua?
Stats under the radar, man. I was trying to get him to put his stats out there so Jason Hope could get him on the announcement, but he's a really humble kid. And anytime you run, you know, he's got verified 10.8 speed. And so, and I've always believed that if a kid is running 10.8 in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, that really if that kid grew up somewhere in the South or Arizona, he might be a 10.6 guy. I mean,
sure.
How many warm weather meets do you really get in South Dakota to have an opportunity to go cook it? And, you know, for us, I thought he came up, his family came up, and he had some other opportunities. But at the end of the day, to play for his home state school, he's going to be a great guy that's going to he's a put together kid now too. And so the physical development that he's going to get and being able to specialize, you know, in football and learn just his, you know, grow his understanding of the game. I see him being a difference maker and a little bit different. He probably fits a little bit more in the James mold. The thing that's really cool about all these guys is they're all different. So, you know, you got like your 5'9" guy that's tree trunk legs. You got your 6'3" guy that can catch the ball and slash. You got James, who's an every down guy. You know, Josh is going to fit into that mold. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. One quick question, Dan, that may be a little bit different than what we're talking about right here. But how Sioux Falls, the metro area specifically now, they're preparing these kids really well through Sanford Power, through the Bauer Elite training stuff. This isn't an ad for any of these guys. The Riggs Quarterback Academy, like all these things that maybe weren't here 5 years ago. Like,
it's amazing.
What are you noticing? Like,
it's amazing. First, like the growth of the new schools and the population growth down there is one thing, just because there's going to be more kids to choose from. But the physical development of some of the kids down there has been impressive. Even as I'm looking at 2026s and 27s, we're always starting in South Dakota and then branching out from there. I mean, we're not going to need to go too far, guys. It is, you know, like the days of Taryn Christian and Chase and those guys being maybe recruiting 2 or 3 guys from down there, it's over. I mean, there's going to be 8 to 12 kids down there every year that we're going to be fighting to get up here. And, you know, I didn't even know Canyon was doing the training until he hit me up, and obviously Riggs and Sanford. So you knew it was coming because I saw all the facilities coming and you saw the growth. But no, what a huge advantage for us to have Sioux Falls so close too. I think, you know, and then having Vince and some of our staff and Eric, you know, being from Sioux Falls, it was a no-brainer for me to make sure we had Sioux Falls connections on the staff.
Absolutely.
I was going to say it probably helps to have Vince for the next couple of years because he's seen a lot of these kids playing already.
Yeah, Vince can tell me right away, I coach against this guy, or I've seen him at all these camps. I've seen him at all those things. I didn't know if I was going to have Vince recruit Illinois or Sioux Falls, but after I talked to him for one time, I was like, yeah, this dude's got to recruit South Dakota. He knows everybody here. And they all love him too. Vince is a good one.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. Let's start with Landon Dulaney, who was recently elevated by 24/7 to a 4-star recruit, 90 grade, one of the highest recruits we've ever had on their system. Matt Zimmer on with John Gaskins today on their podcast, Nobody's Listening Anyways, which is a great listen, said that Landon Dulaney was the best player in the state last year, which is pretty cool. Can you talk about Landon for us, Dan?
Yeah, I love Landon. He was able to come up and spend some time with us too throughout the transition. He's a guy that I've been just trying to call in and check in. He's a great basketball player too, obviously really good in track. I mean, his speed is I don't care if he's a true freshman, a senior, whatever he is. You put that kid on the field, he's going to be able to threaten people vertically. And he's just got that right. He's got like that swagger to him. You know, it's for the old school fans. I'm going to give Josh Davis a shout out in terms of like his savviness and ability to get open and, you know, and just like just be a playmaker and not be robotic, but a lot faster than Josh. This guy is a dynamic player that I expect to play for us as a freshman. And we got to do everything as possible as a staff to get him prepared, whether it's Zooms and teaching him the offense, because he's electric. And you know what's cool about Landon? Like that dude is the best player in the state, and he wants to be here, and he loves the Jackrabbits, and he doesn't waver for a second. He's a guy that can also become a great leader for us.
Yep. And as you know, he turned down offers from Boise State. I think he had an opportunity to go to Washington State too. But man, 82 receptions, 1,025 yards, 20 touchdowns in just his senior year. Incredible production in the top class there in South Dakota. So Luke Womack, what a cool story this guy is. So Luke Womack, was a 2023 graduate, originally committed to Washington with Kalen DeBoer. Looks like a preferred walk-on potentially. That went away when Kalen left. Went to Eastern Washington for summer stuff last year, it sounds like, and then ended up taking a gap year. But huge production, 73 receptions, 913 yards, 7 TDs his senior season, 6'4", 205. Luke Womack. How the heck did you find him?
Yeah, Luke's one of those guys that just from being in the Pacific Northwest and having some experience with that part of the country, knew about Luke, and I honestly kind of lost track of him when he had the gap year there and didn't end up. I mean, we all kind of thought he was set on going to Washington, and he was a guy that maybe the new staff at Washington was going to take. But what's cool about Luke and why I know that he's going to be successful is because that kid has went through some things. I mean, he's scarred from some of the things that happened to him in recruiting. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder. Those are the guys that do well here. Mm-hmm. And he's that big body complement that has the speed and the playmaking ability, but is going to be able to high point and be out physical some DBs. And then also when what people forget sometimes here is we run for a lot of yards. We had some great backs, but the years we've had our best years with the great backs is because our receivers blocked. And when you have a 6'4" dude that's going to be 215, 220, and he's a mean sucker now. Like he's a little bit of a throwback with his mindset at receiver, and he's a game changer for us. And so I'm thrilled that this one worked out for us.
Yeah. All right, let's get in. Let's just get this out of the way because I know we need to.
Yep.
A Nebraska Jack for you here, Joe Kaliga, all Nebraska, and we want to talk production, folks. 82 receptions, 1,634 yards, and 20 touchdowns his senior season. And Alex Kinkle, it was from his high school, Scott, right?
Yep.
He said that's the best class of football in Nebraska. It's not the biggest, but it's the best. So,
yeah. Joe, I tell you what, I mean, I was pushing to try to get this kid recruited at Idaho. Sometimes it didn't make, as much sense for us to recruit the Midwest, but his head coach, Matt Turman, played at Nebraska. He's been a guy that I've always trusted his opinion, and he's never shot me wrong with any of the guys in the state down there. And I knew when he was pushing for Joe so much, there was something special about this kid. And he's 1,000% right. Leadership, effort, energy. The cool thing, when you watch Joe's film, watch once he catches the ball, how aggressive and determined he is to score. This dude's not settling for a catch and go down. I mean, he's getting first downs. He's churning out touchdowns. He's just a determined dude. Great ball skills. I mean, he is. The fact that somebody hadn't come for him sooner is a bit shocking to me, because you can look at measurables and all these things, and he has a lot of those. But at the end of the day, you can't. Football players are football players, and this is as good of a one as you're going to get. So,
yeah. And do you think? Because I thought this a lot in these recent commits. Do you think that has to do with the transfer portal? Do you think that's NCAA eligibility stuff? Do you think that's the roster limits at FBS? Like, what is causing all of these good players to still be available right now? Like Joe's a prime example.
Yeah, it is. It's a combination of the transfer portal. The reality of the world now is once July hits, and a lot of schools are just off high school. They don't watch senior tape. Isn't even something that's watched much anymore. Certainly by the Power 4 schools, they've fully moved on to recruiting other people's rosters. And then, even at the Group of 5 and FCS level, man, I mean, they start want what other people have, and these high school kids are getting missed on. And then I do think with roster limitations too, the combination of the going to the 105, I mean, it's making it tough. There'll be fewer guys playing college football next year than ever before. And that's sad to me, but we've got no problem investing in high school kids. That's going to still be our majority of our focus as we get it built, to where we want to be. Okay.
So next up, you have two kind of gadget guys that can do a little bit of everything in Mason Kelly and Tyjon Brooks. Mason, out of Wisconsin, had a really good wide receiver year in 2023. 2024, his team asked him to play quarterback. So he was kind of a dual threat running, passing quarterback. Tyjon Brooks, 5'6", 150. You turn on his highlight tapes, and he's like a human little joystick out there on the field. Pretty fun. Talk about these two a little bit, Mason and Tyjon.
Anytime for Mason, like anytime you see a guy that's playing quarterback, the things that I know, the coaches trust him. He's a leader and he understands football, because no high school coach is putting anybody back there that doesn't at least embody those sort of characteristics. And then you see him run around and move. And the fun thing is when you take a quarterback and you move him to any position really, but receiver, or even sometimes you move those guys to safety, they see the game differently than other guys. And so he's going to be able to come in and use his moxie and his poise, and just understanding of football to be successful earlier. I think he's going to be physical. He's a worker too. He's been in the weight room, putting in a ton of effort already to get bigger. And Tyjon's got his energy is kind of like how he plays. When you guys meet him, this dude's got some juice to him. And I think it's important in the receiver room to have a balance of different weapons, because you need to be able to take advantages of defenses differently. And a guy like that can be a tough cover, and he may not be the biggest or have the biggest catch radius, but sometimes you just got to get a guy the ball and let him go. I think the hardest thing to do in football is tackle another person in space, and tackling a 5'7", 100, he'll get bigger. We'll bulk him up a little bit, but it's hard to get dudes like that on the ground, man. And so really excited about him.
Cool. All right. So 5 good wide receivers there. That's exciting.
5
tight ends.
You know what? I don't know where you got Zach Van Meter, but our guy from Hamlin, this dude, like he could grow into a tight end. He could.
Okay.
But he is this dude is, fast and explosive and big. And he's one of those guys, when you're watching his tape, he's like on the grass field and it's dim lighting and he's just going. This dude, I'm just telling you, in a couple years, as this guy develops, he could be one of those small town guys that's got a really big name.
Okay, so he's going to be at wide receiver.
Yeah, we're starting him at receiver. Okay. We'll start him off there. Yep.
Okay, I apologize on that. I had him at tight end, but he ran a 10.87 at the state track meet last year in the 100-meter dash at 6'6". Are you kidding me?
Yes. I don't know how many 6'6", 10.8 guys are out there, but there's not many. I do know that. And this kid's got the right mental makeup. I just cannot wait. He's going to be like one of those guys, like a piece of clay that you can come in and mold him. And I remember watching his tape. He was one of the guys that like people were emailing me about. He wasn't even necessarily – he was kind of between the recruiting process a little bit with the staff changes. And I am extremely thankful that we did not, let him slip through the cracks.
Yeah, and he was a 9-man defensive end all-state selection for Hamlin too. So he doesn't mind that physicality piece of it. So
9-man, you play everywhere, brother. I know.
Those guys. Awesome. All right,
I love football.
Right? Exactly. Tight end then. Joseph Rise. Is that how you say it?
Yep, Reese.
Okay. Reese. Okay. 6'4", 220. This again, yards per catch here. 50 receptions, 1,034 yards, 11 touchdowns. He was all-state for the Des Moines Register down there, so just a steal. Brother, I think, plays at UNI, it looks like. So what else? What do we need to know about him?
Versatile player. We were battling whether he's a defensive guy. Do we want to put him at linebacker? Is he going to be big enough to be a D end? Is he the thing about it, we settled on tight end, and like all these guys, once they get here and you get a chance to work with them, we're going to get them in position to be successful. But you just can't deny the production that he had on offense, and flexing out, playing receiver, playing tight end, leaving the box. I think he's got a natural. The way he tracks the ball is really natural, which is not easy for a lot of guys. And then again, just another guy, like high academic guy, work hard. He loves football. He's playing at a great program. Harlan's an unbelievable. He's won a lot of games, and I think he was just kind of a no-brainer in terms of fit for us. And we're going to use tight ends in a lot of ways, and he's one of the guys that can do multiple things.
Okay. Then we'll go to the early guys that got signed. We'll come back to Shane in a second. But Sebastian Fries, when he committed last summer, his highlight tape from junior year, it showed a player who could do so much more than what he was asked to be doing. It was just like block for a second, do a pot pass, block for a second, go out in the flat. That's what he was doing, and he was making plays left and right. But it looks like his senior year, they finally started getting the ball. 32 receptions, 442 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6'3", 215. You were here when Mike Morgan was here.
Oh yeah,
there's a little Mike Morgan to him, in my opinion. Just looks like how he's put together. But what do you see?
Great comparison with Mike, and more physically developed at the same age, than Mike was. But we will use him in a ton of ways. The cool thing about Sebastian, you could flex him out. You could put him as a Y that's off the ball and motion him around. He's super physical, so he will come kick out a D end or whatever he needs to do, or arc up to a linebacker, and then he's going to be a tough tackle in space because he does have great hands. And they've had some talent on his team. And I think sometimes when you play for like a really talented high school team, sometimes there's times that it's tough to highlight a tight end. Sometimes like coaches, it's like easy to get the running back a ball or throw it up to a receiver, a quarterback. So I think his potential is extremely high, and just a confident, tough kid, great family. I mean, I can't wait to get him here.
Okay. So Ben Brooks, I can't say I've ever seen a 6'8" tight end before out on the field. 6'8", but he was an all-state athlete from Madison. His highlight tape is fun because he played quarterback, receiver, ran a lot of plays, but he was an all-state athlete, ran for 649 yards, received 334, 555 yards passing, and 17 touchdowns. Crazy.
You know what's even more impressive is he sends me his dunk videos every now and then. And, I mean, you get it. Sometimes 6'8" guys, they dunk, and it doesn't look that cool because they're 6'8". They're just up there and they're putting – this dude windmilling backwards, 360s. Awesome. I mean, Ben is gifted. And again, he's going to be all these guys. When you recruit tight ends like this, you want them to – there's going to be physical development and growth, but – when they have the raw talent and tools that you can see from coordination and body control, and he's big time. So he is. I can't wait to. I bet his growth from when he steps on campus, even a semester in, he might be like a 30-pound guy that just puts on a ton of mass and doesn't lose any of his athleticism.
Hey, that's awesome. Okay, kind of a legacy jackrabbit here. Shane Henderson, you snuck one by on me. This guy wasn't even on my radar. 6'6", 220, academic all-state, all-conference player, 20 receptions, 329 yards last year, 3 TDs. Obviously played both sides of the ball, played defense too. When both your parents play at SDSU, you got to think the potential, the ceiling's pretty high. So what about Shane?
Coach Benedetto almost slipped this one by me too. So we, we were hustling every day. There was a new name that was popping up, and I just told Vince, like, I told the staff, regardless of how we build this class, we are going to build it with guys that fit, and we're going to build guys that are going to be a part of our culture that love South Dakota State. We're not going to reach and take 25s that. Like we're going to get back to the gritty blue collar. I got here 2012 practicing on the grass field type mindset dudes that want to come in here and develop and work. And we're going to take pride in that. And Vince took that personally. He went and found Shane. He said, Coach, I got this cat here. He's 6'6". We're watching his film. He's really athletic. And we do some more research, and mom and dad, both, athletes here and from South Dakota State. And he's just another one of those guys that he's going to look a ton different in a couple years. But I mean, gosh, guys, we got some guys that are, again, the tight end room. We got guys that we could stretch the field, throw the ball to them. We can move them. We can, have some inline Ys, some blocking type. I'm proud of how that group came together.
Yeah. And Ryan Deal, who covers South Dakota sports really well, high school sports in South Dakota, posted a picture of Shane with Tucker Kraft. From, 5 years ago? How cool is that? That's just a really neat photo that Ryan posted. So
you know what's cool about Tucker, man? That dude loves giving back to the community. He loves people. He is a neat dude, and he's going to continue. He'll be more involved at an even higher level with us. I love Tuck, and he understands how much those interactions mean to a kid that age too. He's fully aware of that.
Yeah.
He definitely looked young in that picture too.
He's taller than Tucker now. He's taller than Tucker. He don't got the mass, but he's taller.
Yeah. Hey, all right. So maybe my favorite position group from this class is the 605 Hogs here. This group, woofta, from top to bottom, however you want to stack it, is awesome.
Awesome.
Let's start with Link. Let's start with Lincoln Simchenko.
Yep. Lincoln, this dude plays the game, how it's meant to be played. He's physical. He's nasty. He's, Mason McCormick's like his idol. You're going to get that type of kid that's just all in. He's probably our number one recruiter too. He, he was always wanting to call the other recruits and, just form connections and coach these guys or help us just get these guys. And so Lincoln is, man, him and his family are really special. They got some Jackrabbit ties too, but I can't say enough about him. He'll be our number one host too next year when we're bringing in other recruits. This guy's all about South Dakota State. He's big, super athletic, and just committed. I mean, he can play multiple positions. This kid's he's different. He's different.
Talk about our first of two Watertown kids, Micah Hack, who's also going to wrestle, which Chad I know is very interested in that. Micah helped lead Watertown back to a state championship, first state title for them since I think 2005. So with Will Castle, shout out to Will, man in that ship. So Dan, Micah, what do we need to know?
Man, Mike Hawks, he's one of the first guys that I was getting called on when I got the job. I was like, you need to connect with this guy. You need to, people were exactly right. He comes down here. He actually takes classes at South Dakota State right now. Coach Hahn did a phenomenal job recruiting him too. This was not simply a football decision for this kid. He loves wrestling, and the relationship he had with Coach Hahn is awesome and that staff. And then, but athletically, I mean, all these guys are kind of physically ready to go type guys. I mean, he's 285 pounds. He played at 300. Will Castle sends you an O-lineman, you're going to listen to him. And even the RC Kilgore, there's guys at Chris Tracy's up there. I mean, there's guys up there that are that's Jackrabbit country. And I think this kid could be an NFL center guard, body control, physicality, intelligent. I mean, he's everything that you want. And he's about as college ready, I think, as they come from a physical standpoint. And his wrestling is, I was trying to make sure I could get up there and try to watch him wrestle. And he kind of told me Coach, you can drive up here, but it matches last about 15 seconds. I was like, dude, toy around with him, man. Toy around with him for a minute. He was pretty serious. He's like, nah, Coach, I can't toy around with him. I got to pin him quick. So
there we go.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, this is a fun story, and Chad knows this one. So I took my kids and wife. We went to Watertown, went to Thunder Road the day after he committed last summer, and I'm wearing my Jackrabbit Illustrated hat and my Jackrabbit stuff. And I don't know if someone recognized me, but someone came up to me at Thunder Road and goes, "Did you hear Micah? Micah committed to the Jackrabbits yesterday. Did you see that? Did you see that?" Like, like you said, Watertown people, Watertown's Jackrabbit country, and they were jacked about it. So it was just really funny. Just randomly, someone came to tell me that Micah committed. So, yeah.
Hey, you're a celebrity now, buddy. You got to get used to that. People just coming up to
you. Yeah. All right. Chad and I both had the good fortune at the playoff game, one of the playoff games, to meet JB Walters and his dad. They came down for the playoff games, and great kid, great family, all-state AA in North Dakota Jack. So that's fun. What do we know about JB?
Tough, physical, plays angry. He's a happy kid, and he's got great personality, but he steps on that field, he's nasty. And both parents are educators. They, did a phenomenal job raising him. He's a loyal kid. Coach Bankston got a chance to go up there and do a home visit with him pretty early on. That was all of these guys that have been previously committed. We were sending that's the other part of this. We were working during the day, and I was sending the assistants out at night to see these kids as best they can, driving all over the country and the Midwest at least. And JB's a guy that Coach Bain came back and was like, man, this he's got the right mindset. And when you watch his film, I mean, he's another guy just with his size and the mass that's already on these kids. it's not like the days where we were taking 240-pound linemen and we thought 3 years from now they could be an NFL player. We'll take kids like that too, but holy smokes, these dudes aren't that far off. And no, he's going to make an impact early.
Cool. All right, the guy that's impossible to find anything on. I don't know where he is living or what he's doing, but Thomas Dwyer, 6'7", 290. I can't even tell on his huddle tape who's who in his huddle tape. He's never been written about in a single newspaper. Who is Thomas Dwyer?
That's the kind of hog you want, right?
Yeah, this dude. And he is a monster from Wisconsin, and he is he's playing basketball right now, really good athlete. You know, Coach Banks was able to get the chance to go watch him compete in a hoops game and called me. Was so impressed. He's like, man, this dude, just the way that you could watch a big guy. If you're an O-lineman and you're playing basketball and you got like some skill and some coordination and things out there, you know, you really got something from a footwork standpoint. And no, Thomas may be, in terms of just looking at him right now, he's a tackle. Obviously, you get that tackle length, but he's got the mass to be able to move people in the run game, you know, still too, and anchor his weight down, so he's not going to be getting like displaced into a quarterback. He is leader, confident. You know, he was a guy that had came on an official visit, like a few of these guys in the season with the old staff, and he came back for his OV a couple weeks ago, and I mean, he just hit it off with everybody. I mean, anytime it's like, you know, we had a bunch of guys here like Lincoln and Thomas and those guys on the visit. The O-line, you know, those guys were kind of the ringleaders for that group. So it's cool to see these guys are big and they can play and they're tough and their film's awesome. But then when your O-linemen are a bunch of leaders and confident, that's what, you know, that sets the tone for your whole program.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good insight. All right, Landon Lewerke was in this last class from Clear Lake, Iowa, all district, 6'3", 280. Originally was committed to Northwest Missouri State. They had a coaching change down there too, so he looked at some other options. And yeah, what do we know about Landon?
Man, really athletic, interior guy. You know, center guard, really light on his feet, big dude. He really grew a lot. You know, this past season, you could tell he was a guy that had a frame, but I mean, he's filled out in the right way. No bad weight on him. He's going to be a guy that super sharp too, that you want as a potential center. But, you know, I think when we talk about interior guys, to me, when we say, I mean, there's center, there's guards, we're going to get the best five out there, but he, plays a good program. That's also Jackrabbit country. I mean, people are excited that he's coming up here, and he was a guy that we kind of found, just once we got here, really, you know, and got on some different guys. And we weren't going to take, you know, more O-linemen, but, you know, he was one of those guys that we couldn't pass up.
Yeah. Yep. Right on. Okay. Blake Osbar.
Yep.
Yeah, he has some Brookings connections. Everyone from the Brookings community is very excited that he's coming back. Had some grandparents in the community, and I think his mom grew up in Brookings. He might have lived here for a little while too. But what about Blake?
I'm excited about Brock. He does got the Brookings connections. We're going around town on his visit, and his mom's pointing out, you know, which house she grew up in, and you know, his dad's got the, you know, connections with school here and those things too. And so it was cool to see his mom and dad kind of relive, you know, so go down memory lane a little bit. And and they're great people. And Brock he's another one of those guys that's just he's got something about him from a charisma, leadership, toughness, smart guy. He's going to be able to get out on, and he's a big dude. I think he fits. He's one of those guys that you know, like we kind of built with guys like this guy. You know, we kind of he's going to love this place. It's going to mean a lot to him. He's going to put in the extra work to be able to become great. And I couldn't. Brock's got a really, really bright future.
Yeah. He was a great defensive lineman too. Like that's
the thing. Everybody, even his dad was like, "Hey, you know, we kind of played him on more offense this year because that's what they wanted to see. He could play defensive line too. Usually, you don't do that flip O line to D line, but every now and then, you know, we might have to look at Brock, you know, early in his career. We'll see. Chain Gang needs some love too.
There we go. All right, Evan McCarty, 6'6", 245. He was all Metro West in the Twin Cities. 0 sacks allowed in his senior season. And we know there's some quality defensive ends up there in the Metro that he's going against every week. 0 sacks allowed. Whew. Talk about Evan.
I think Evan, he's got all the makeup to be a pro. He's one of those guys that's a little bit undersized in terms of where he's at right now. You say 250 or 270, but again, he's got the length and he's a big dude. I mean, he's going to be a 300-pounder that's really athletic, that's going to be able to play on the right side or the left side. I mean, he's a pure tackle body, which, those are hard to find. I mean, guys that have the length to play tackle but have the strength and the athleticism to do it at a high level. I mean, gosh, Evan is – yeah, I'm excited about him. I think he's one of those guys too that's just going to crush it in the weight room. And then we're really enhancing our nutrition program here and putting that. I'm really big into nutrition, and so I think that is going to be a crucial part of his development. But man, he's a good one. Cool.
All right, so that's the offensive guys. 22 guys we just rattled through there like that, Dan. So good work. Defensively, 22 guys. Yeah, 22 guys. That's an awesome class. Defensively, you added 28 sacks in the last 3 days of recruiting here before signing day. You added the Tim Crumry Award winner out of Wisconsin, which goes to the top senior defensive lineman in the state. And he won that award over one other guy you're bringing in, who was the second place guy. The third place guy, I believe, is a Wisconsin recruit. Petaway, I think, is going to Wisconsin. So Liam Shaw, talk about Liam a little bit.
Special dude. He was a special kid, man. I mean, this dude, his physicality, how he uses his hands. He's advanced, but he's still learning. It's kind of a unique thing. I mean, but the reason why he took such a big jump from his junior to senior year is he's one of those guys that he can't get enough ball. He'll be out on the practice field, guarantee you, out there hitting a sled by himself. He'll be the leader of the chain gang in terms of bringing others with him. This dude just loves everything about football, loves everything about being a leader, and his passion is unmatched. And Liam had some things to work through to be able to get to this point, and he was committed to Winona. And, there was obviously a connection there. But this dude is awesome. And he will be physically ready to come in, and his goal is to play. And you can move him anywhere on the line. He's a defensive end for us. I think he's going to create a ton of pressure. He's going to be great versus the run out there too. He fits a 4-down scheme to a T. But I don't know. I mean, on third down, you can move him in and play him on a guard and try to best match up him there. But really excited about him and just who he is as a person above all, really.
Okay, Daniel Bradley is the next guy, 6'4", 245 also. Some real speed off the edge here, it looks like. 14 sacks. And again, when you look at how some of these guys slide through the cracks, lots of different reasons, right? For Daniel, I got to think that moving before his senior year may have done something there. Because I watched this tape, and he's all Orlando, the Orlando Sentinel, all area. Like, it doesn't make any sense on this.
No, you're right. I think moving his senior year, being a guy that really took a jump his senior year. I mean, I've kind of shifted a little bit. I used to think that you needed to get all your guys committed in the summer, and if you weren't getting all your guys committed in the summer, that you weren't recruiting properly. And I think for a long time that was true, but I do think we need to shift and change and mold and adapt to having spots available for a guy like this late every year. I just, this guy moves incredibly well. This guy you can't find a flaw with this. He's a great kid, great personality, awesome in the classroom, unbelievable mom, just special lady. He got here on Friday night for his official visit, and he walks in. I'm like, please tell me this is one of our guys, like he's a monster. I mean, this guy, some of these guys we're talking, maybe we're giving him an inch or two, here and there. This dude is all of what he's listed at. And Coach McCormick actually dug up Daniel. I was on him. I'm like, guys, O-line, D-line, that's what wins. We need some D-line. We're not going to reach, but there's kids out there. And I mean, Daniel is he's going to be a big physical and I wanted to add some length too. I think we need the right amount of shorter, bursty, twitchy guys, but then we need to have some length up there too. Yeah, he's going to be awesome. And going a long ways from home, I think relationships was big for mom to know that he's going to be taken care of. And she could not have been more complimentary of the community here and everybody she met. So like when we're out at dinners, when we're out at things in the community and people come say hi and people interact with our recruits, I just am telling people it's not like that everywhere. It's not. And we had ladies at Cubby's coming up and asking Daniel what his favorite home cooked meal his mom makes back home, because they'll make it for him here. If you're a mom and you're on an OV and you got ladies in the community, they're going to make home cooked meals for your kid. That sets us apart. So
that's cool. And, you mentioned just his size, right? Like Coach McCormick's not a small man.
No,
he's a very good football player. He stands above Coach McCormick on that. So that picture that I think Logan posted, like, dang. Yeah, someone posted, mom, maybe. Yeah,
he's a monster. No, mom took a lot of really good photos. I might have to get her a press pass so she could take some photos on the sidelines for us next year. So she was locked in.
Let us know. Yeah, we're always looking for photographers. So yeah,
definitely.
And then just one other thing on him, character. Like his coaches, I'm sure you talked to him and stuff, but his coaches and what the people in that program posted about him on signing day. Like, man alive, like that kid is loved. Like, so I think that's really cool. I'm just excited for him.
One thing, as you touch on that, just on that topic, is I think sometimes people talk about you want to recruit guys that are going to uphold your culture and your standard. I think, I kind of want to shift the mindset to let's recruit guys that are going to elevate our standard. Let's get guys that are going to drive, not just like come in and conform to it, which is great, but how do we push it forward? And guys that are not satisfied with where we're at, he's one of those guys.
Cool. Okay. One of the guys, that I mentioned right before this, Reggie Clone. Is that Clone? Is that what I'm saying? Okay. 6'1", 275. He was that Tim Creamery Award finalist. Tremendously productive from the interior. His last 2 seasons, 141 combined tackles, 31 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. You watch his first step and his get off. What a game wrecker on the interior there.
He's a Kobe Claiborne-esque type guy. Crazy story about Reggie is so I'm at Idaho last year, right? And we're not really recruiting the Midwest too much, or Wisconsin. And our D-line assistant was from Wisconsin, and he had seen him at a camp and loved him. And so I was like, all right, buddy, well, he was determined that we could get him at Idaho. I'm like, dude, we're not going to get him at Idaho. We're not going to get him out there. Like, I'll get him. And so Reggie was actually going to go play for us at Idaho. And, Christian Smith is a guy that I hope everybody still remembers around here. And Christian is one of my great friends. And I don't know if I trust Christian's opinion, and he was at the Northwest camp. This kid went to the Northwestern camp, and I called, C9 and asked him about him. And it was like, yeah, Dan, like he's a guy, I would have wanted him here. Obviously there's some measurables and things that they want at the Big Ten, but that kind of sold me on Reggie. And then you meet him, like great. He really, his grandfather came out with him and brought him on a trip to Idaho. You talk about just like salt of the earth, good people that this kid is all about work, all about ball, and he's going to just continue to mature and develop. This kid in the right program is dominant, and he's in the right program. So I love this kid for his heart and his passion and who he is. And, I think physically he's ready to go, really. If we can get some snaps out of him next year, I'd be excited.
Cool. All right. Then you got 2 South Dakota kids here at, I'm assuming they're going to be ends, but we'll see.
Yep.
Luke Crumptious, Sioux Falls Lincoln again, powerhouse. He was all-state AAA, 4 sacks his senior year. Just one of those players that you watch his tape on Huddle from sophomore year to junior year to senior year, just making these jumps every year again. Really a nice player. And then Maverick LeBrun, 6'4", 200, Del Rapids St. Mary's, all-state 9B, smallest class in South Dakota.
Love
62 tackles, 7 sacks, and just an athletic family. His brother played at Augie in hoops. 2 really fun players here from South Dakota again.
Yeah, really fun. Luke is, like you said, you get a chance to see his growth, which – it's one of those guys that has great senior film that I don't know how many people are evaluating at that time. I think we will start him at defensive end. He's got the size for it. He's got the physicality for it. He's got, a really good feel. And then I know he's been coached really well too. I mean, that's like, as we talked about with the growth of Sioux Falls, it is those training facilities and those things that the kids are doing extra. But I've always thought that there was great high school coaching in Sioux Falls, and really throughout the state. I think it's probably understated that the high school coaches, in this state do a really nice job. And, Luke's one of those guys that I think is going to come in and have a pretty high understanding of ball. And then on the flip side, Maverick has been coached well in those things, but this kid, you talk about an absolute, monster of it. Like this kid's dunks. I mean, I think it was my 4th day in the office. I'm going through and I'm like trying to look at these 25 kids and stuff. Start texting Maverick. We got on the phone. He texts me some of his favorite dunks. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude, again, he's windmilling 360. And these dudes, I thought he was using a trampoline. He's long. I mean, he's all of 6'4", maybe bigger. And he's one of those dudes. It's like I remember when Dallas Goddard came in, Dallas was like, I believe he was 207, but Dallas had all these features that told me he was going to be big, like big hands, big knees, like he just was broad. And then Dallas obviously got up in the 260s. I don't know if Maverick needs to be that, but I won't be shocked if that kid's 230 after a year, 250 after. And then we get him coached up. I mean, he's just a rare athlete to have, out there.
Yep. And he's, one of those kids too, that small school like that in South Dakota, you are playing every sport that's offered.
Yep.
So, once you get him in the weight room, get him on that nutrition that you're talking about, I mean, the sky's the limit for a player like that.
The thing I love about small town kids that do that, they're doing it for their town. They're not they may not even love the sport sometimes. I always thought that was so unique was that, they're the best athletes. So it's like they owe it to their town to do these sports. And then, when you get those kids, they're like so loyal to your program. Like it's just been ingrained in them. It's pretty cool.
Yep. All right. Your linebackers. And I know you're excited about this guy, Casey Larson from Washington, wide receiver, punt returner. He was the 4A All-State punt returner, kick returner, and linebacker, cornerback, safety. Probably played some defensive line at times too. Talk about Casey Larson, 6'3", 200.
Yeah, this kid they're all special to me. This guy I've been recruiting for a long time, right since I got to Idaho. Formed a strong relationship with him. He does it all. And I apologize if there's not a ton of film on him, because I think after a few weeks of him catching touchdowns, I was like, all right, buddy, just calm down the highlight videos. Calm that down. We don't need too many people seeing it. But no, it's funny I remember seeing Casey at this Northwest Best Showcase, and he was playing linebacker, and he's a DB and a receiver, and he didn't know. So I was coaching him up, and he was great in the coverage drills and the footwork, just like I thought he'd be. And he said, Coach, I'm going to go play running back. Coach Cooper, who's our running back coach here now, he's like, Coach Coop, was talking crap that I couldn't play running back. I said, okay. He goes over there. He tells the quarterback to throw him a wheel route. He jumps over a kid, catches a touchdown, and he's celebrating. This kid he's just got the winner to him. Like if we just made up a game right now, us three, and we just all learned about the rules, he would find a way to be unbelievable at it right away. He's just good at everything. The only thing that scared me about Casey all the time is he loves to ski and snowboard and do X Games. So I was always nervous I'd get a call about him. I don't know, just doing something a little too crazy, but he's like a Rose Boomish guy that I think will develop into that type of player, sideline to sideline type guy.
Cool. Yeah, that his highlights and even his Instagram. He had, you're worried that people are going to discover him or whatever, but on his Instagram, he has some high school football influencer that went to one of his games and highlighting all these big plays and stuff that he had made throughout. And it's just all this one game. He had 3 block punts or something just crazy.
I think he had 30 touchdowns right around. I mean, and he's playing good ball. And the cool thing about Casey is, you talk about loyalty. Like I go to New Mexico, Casey's like, well, I kind of want to go with you there. I come here. And it's funny how things all work out, because I would say South Dakota State is, even though he's from the different part of the country, everybody needs to know. I mean, he has got his dad, his mom went to North Dakota State. Dad, they have some bison to them, some from North Dakota State, but they have family that lives in Sioux Falls, and there's just some connections to this area, which are really neat for a kid from that part of the country. And then he had fun on his photo shoot, taking pictures with like the Larson manufacturing sign and stuff.
Sure, yeah, perfect. That's good. That's good. All right, Andrew Price, 6 foot 200. He was a 5A All-State in Iowa, Missouri Valley, right? I believe is where he's from. Yep. 78 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 interception, which he returned for a touchdown. Love these kids that come from these winning programs, and definitely they're one of them. So Andrew Price, what do you say about him?
Yeah, Valley High School. He's got this kid's got like electric personality to him and confidence. And I just, again, I can't stress enough how much a confident demeanor matters in this process. And his film, at first I saw that he was a really good wrestler, and you could see his athleticism there. And then tackling in space was natural for him. And then you get a chance to see him run, and he was really fluid runner and smooth. And he has interceptions for touchdowns on his film, and he's just a natural playmaker. And he was the first. Andrew will be special because he was the first guy to commit to our staff. I mean, he came up on an unofficial. I mean, I don't know, guys. I might have been here a week maybe, and half the staff's here, and he comes up and knew this is where he wanted to be. And great family. He's a hustler and recruiting for us too. I think he'll send you the best players from Iowa, and he'll do everything to get them here. So he'll play like that outside linebacker spot. It's kind of the Sam Nichols spot, and even Casey will be a guy that will move all around at that spot to find out the best fit for him. But
okay. So one of my favorite guys from this class from the start has been Bo Bakken, 6'4", 215. He was an all-state 9-man in Minnesota, got to play in the Minnesota All-Star game, the Vikings All-Star game at the end of the season. Talk about a wrecking ball or a bull in a china shop. You watch this guy play. That's what Bo is for me. He posts his lifting records and stuff on his Twitter every so often, or his school does. Man, this guy's a stud. What can you say about Bo?
No, he's a stud. I think he's got such great athleticism that we got to start him at linebacker to be able to keep him off the ball and run and make plays. And I think his length just, when you're tackling guys, like the longer you are, sometimes it helps you just like catch radius does for a receiver. When you're tackling a guy and you're able to get your arms around him and those sort of things, there's almost like a tackle radius, but he is big, long, fluid, athletic. I really believe that he's going to be able to be somebody that you can have at linebacker on one down, and the next down you can put him wide and let him rush as a DN and cause problems for people and move him around. And he's just a no-nonsense, all-ball, humble dude. I think you're spot on with this guy with your eval. I was so excited when I got a chance to see his tape. He's got a shot to be pretty special.
And don't you think, if he has a 6'4", 215 right now, he can get up to 230, 235 pretpretty easily and still be athletic, you think? So
he might be 230 by Christmas. I mean, that
right?
dude is he's and you know what? You don't always need to move those guys right away down. It's like that sometimes you just get a big, super athletic 230-pound backer. There's nothing wrong with that. But right. There's just, I think the more guys like that we can recruit, I know you can move them, and it's just, okay, you're in an odd front. Now you're in an even front, and he's playing DN. Now you can dictate a little bit when you have kids like that.
Cool. All right. One player that never wavered in his commitment, and I know was part of the guy that was keeping the original 2025s together, is Brady Kurt. 3A All-State from Iowa, 6'2", 185. Tremendous receiver down there. Has a number of records, but also 90 tackles, 23.5 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks spread out over his career. Just a great football player. What can you say about Brady?
Yeah, pretty dynamic. Brady is one of those guys too that he's going to be successful. He's a great athlete, but because of who he is, just as much as because of his God-given ability. And he's got great burst. He's got great energy. He's a physical player on the field. He's got a knack for making plays, high-level understanding. One of those high IQ guys that can still relax and play when they're out there too, and not overcomplicate things. Really vocal guy. I think he's done a great job just with the class and building relationships with guys. So No, Brady, it was fun getting to know him on his OV a little bit deeper. And yeah, he's gonna be a good one. He's a true linebacker. He can play Will, he can play Mike, we can move him around and do some different things.
Okay. The final linebacker here is Spencer Wenches from Watertown. Train.
Let's go.
So Spencer, all-state tight end for AA. And a funny story on Spencer, his mom and dad were from Clark or were in Clark for a while. That's where I'm from. So his mom was an elementary teacher when I was in elementary school, Cindy. So shout out to the Wenches. But no, huge senior year, great player, was committed to Northern State, great tight end, but I think he looks like a heck of a middle linebacker too. His highlight tape, he's hitting people.
Yeah, he's super violent. You go through kind of camp, again, talking about being diligent, we're going through camp rosters and films, and this is a kid that came to our camp. I mean, he ran in the 4.6s. He's 220 pounds. He's over 6 feet tall. He's got great film. I mean, there really wasn't a lot about Spencer to not like. I mean, to me, he belongs at this level of ball. He told me it was his dream to be a jackrabbit, and those are the guys that, when you get them here and there in your office and they're looking out over the field and you see something different in their eye, those guys are going to find a way to be successful because they're doing it for something bigger than just themselves. They're going to do it for their family, the state. He wants to make Watertown proud. No, he's going to find a way to be phenomenal for us.
Hey, very cool. All right, moving on to your cornerback group. I know you have affinity for this group here.
Yep.
But Miles Green, you posted a picture with him yesterday on signing day. He was there with you. I know it's a fun morning. But player of the year for his conference in the past, 48 tackles, 4 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, early enrollee. So he's there. Talk about Miles.
Yeah, Miles is my guy. He's up here all the time. He was one of those guys too, though. And I think initially the coaching transition shook him, and like any 17, 18-year-old kid would be nervous, but getting a chance to connect with him, his mom's a big part of his life too, and she's awesome. When she dropped him off a few weeks ago, she stayed for a week. She loves Brookings too. This he's lived in Chicago and he's lived in the city. It's not like he's lived on the outskirts. And the cool thing about him is he loves Brookings in South Dakota because all the space. He just it just blows his mind that there's all this land and open space and stuff. It's just kind of funny.
Get the kid a shotgun.
I'm sure the boy. Okay, so he's living with Shane Hillenbring, and when Miles is early enrollee, there's no other true freshman to put him with. Yep. So he's living with our center, and you would just think, okay, DB early enrollee, Chicago, and then you got Shane, but they are best buddies immediately. Miles walks by all the time. That's my roommate, right, Coach? That's my roommate right there squatting all that weight. My roommate squats 500. I'm like, dude, I get it, buddy. Let's get your squat up a little bit. Yeah. But he is special. He's got just such a fun personality. He loves football. He was up here with us early to just watch some of his class get announced. He went and left to go to class. He came back to get study hours. Then he's on the field doing some extra work. Then he's just always here. And I've just found those guys that love it and they want to be around the coaches. They turn out pretty good. And he's looked awesome in workouts. So we got to bulk him up and we got to develop him in those things. But he's got the tools.
Cool. All right. JoJo Young. Out of the cities, just an elite athlete on this guy, 6'3", 170. Love how he moves on his tape. All the all-state accolades you could have. 4 interceptions, 4 touchdowns. Originally committed to UNI. They had their coaching change as well. Talk about JoJo.
Yeah, I was excited when he reached out. He had, like you said, he was committed to another school in the conference, and there's just been transition. I think he just wanted to make sure things were right, and I respect kids who want to do that. And I'm just telling you, in terms of length, he's probably 6'3". But to have the fluidity, when I always evaluated corners, the things I looked at that were non-negotiables for me were fluidity. So that's just how easy do they run, their turnover, do they pick their knees up? And he kind of reminds me of Jordan Brown with how he moves, which is good. He's taller. And then, ball skills is something that I do like DBs to have because I want them to be in position to like actually make the play, which is a big deal. That shows body control, physicality as well. And then, change of direction, people say, but to me, it's almost like when you're recruiting a DB, they gotta be like a cat, like I don't really care what their pro agility is because you can practice that. But if like I took a cat and just threw it over there, it would just boom, boom, like how it just is so light on its feet. He's got those tools while being 6'3". So he's gonna be a fun one for Coach McClin to work with.
Yeah, cool. All right, so this player has the Matt Zimmer and John Gaskins stamp of endorsement here. They've talked about him on their podcast now multiple times. Justin Cabrera out of Harrisburg. It is nice to finally get a player from Harrisburg. Man alive, that's a good program. It's nice to get one of them up here. All-state in AAA, Elite 25, 47 tackles, 3 interceptions. They talk about his physicality. I mean, he's 5'11", 160, but they make it seem like he has no issues mixing it up at the line of scrimmage. What can you say about Justin?
Yeah, they're right with his physicality. He's one of those guys that when he triggers, he don't stop. It's a little bit he reminds me a little bit of a young Dyshawn-ish in terms of that. Like Dyshawn didn't really care much for his body when he was young. He would run in there and throw his face in there and hit anybody. Yep. I think Justin plays with that same chip on his shoulder a little bit, and he's really developed. I think people fell off him. They didn't think he was maybe had the speed numbers at a young age, but what you don't realize is like a kid like that develops a lot in a year, they get a ton more explosive. And so I've got some verified numbers on how well he moves actually. And so, I think he's just, again, awesome student, great program, really, really phenomenal family, loves ball. I mean, he's just another one of the guys that fits the mold of what we're looking for out there. Confident kid that's going to make plays and not shy away from a big moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up, Scooby Bradley, 6'1", 170, Chandler High School in Arizona. So one of those Arizona Jacks.
Yep.
55 tackles, 2 interceptions, and half a sack. And his name is Scooby. So
yeah.
Yeah, that was some Scooby snacks.
We got to maybe bring back. I don't know if we were calling them Cactus Jacks. We used to do that.
Cactus Jacks. That's what it was.
There may be a little old school coming back there, but no, Scooby, ton of energy, great kid. I would say, his nickname was. He probably got asked that 15 times on his OV over the year or over the weekend. But no, I guess I love watching Scooby too. His pop's pretty easy. Pretty easy one there. So, no, excited about him. Great length. He's going to need to develop physically, put some weight on. Could be a guy that you can move around the field in the secondary a little bit. And, again, coming from a phenomenal program, great bloodlines. Dad played in the major leagues, played some Major League Baseball for the Yankees. So kind of a cool little tidbit on him.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. And Chandler's a good program down there.
Phenomenal.
Right? Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's move to your safeties. And Cam Kabari, out of Valley as well, down there in West Des Moines. 6', 175, all district. He was in the Iowa All-Star game. Had a big game there in that game. I saw some of the clips from that, and he made a few plays, especially in the red zone against some stiff competition. 24 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 1 interception, and 10 pass breakups on the season.
Yep, really productive, confident kid. I think his best years are just like in terms of work ethic and, we talk about like lead by example guys. I think Cam will be one of those guys that's like early on that. You could just tell that he's been raised by 2 phenomenal parents that have taught him work ethic and humility. And it was cool to get to know them on the official visit. And he, played high school ball with Andrew down there in Valley. And I think he's got some flexibility. He can play corner, he can play safety, he can play, we want to get to where we're playing with a little bit more of a DB at that Sam outside linebacker spot too. He's going to have some flex there. And again, he's just one of those guys that has a knack for making plays. You kind of can't deny the production.
Yep. Okay. 2 guys that joined late. And in my opinion, it's 2 of them. Like, how are these guys still on the board?
Yep.
Carter York out of Illinois and Finn Benz from up in the Metro. A little bit different type. Carter's 6', 187. Finn is 6'2", 185. Both productive.
Yep.
Both played. I mean, Carter, especially on offense, super fun to watch at wide receiver. Then you watch them both play on defense, and man, Carter is like a quarterback there, just seeming to diagnose everything. But man, I like these two. Good additions.
Yeah, Carter's just got phenomenal feel for the game. There's some guys that just like the football comes natural to him. He's one of those guys. And Sycamore is actually the town that my wife and I lived in when we were at Northern Illinois. It's just really right next to DeKalb. And that's a great program. Coach Ryan does a really good job as a head coach there. They've won a lot, but the culture is just strong. And he's a South Dakota State type kid. He's going to be one of those guys that, may have flown under the radar like a Tucker Large, but then it's like plays big in games. That's kind of the vibes and feel I get. And then he's got great speed. And so he's in a closed space really quickly. And then Finn is one of these dudes. He's like 31 ACT, 4 point. I thought 4.0 was the best. Somehow these kids get like 4.7 and stuff. He's like one of those guys. And so, but he's like got great length and plays at a good program. And then his body's going to change so much in the next few years. But I think he provides us some flexibility, whether it's the field safety, whether it's the boundary safety, whether he's a great communicator. He's going to learn the game and understand it. And he will knock your head off if you go across the middle. He just kind of plays the game the right way. So excited about those guys finishing up that safety room.
Yep. All right. Special teams. The 5A All-State kicker from Iowa, Ryan Harrington, 6'3", 165.
Yep. Ryan is he's one of those guys, like kickers and punters, they need to be athletes, and he's one of those guys when you look at him, you think he can play receiver because he's got like the length and the build and the frame, and really flexible guy. And kind of a funny story is he got connected with Jamie Cole, and Jamie Cole's kind of, he's the guru of, specialists. But Jamie's kind of like his personal coach, which, Jamie does a lot of things with the camps and all that now, but to actually work with him pretty exclusively is he only does that with so many guys. And so, his best days, like I think he's one of those specialists that he hasn't had a personal coach for 10 years and been doing it since he was a kid. He's just an athlete that is learning that, and he can do both. The thing that Coach Jackson and I really like, is guys that can do multiple things. I talked to him about Hunter Dustman, and anytime you have a guy that can like kick off, punt, kick field goals, it just adds such value to your roster. And Ryan's a guy that can do all those things. Okay.
All right. And then Creighton Bergstrom, Winona, 42.7 yards punt average his senior season.
Yeah. So. Creighton's a great story, obviously, with, and I don't want Creighton to be defined by his father being a coach for us. I want him to be able to carve his own path. But the cool thing about Creighton is he's also like a tremendous leader. All the sports he plays, he finds a way to be a leader for his team. It's fun to have seen and known him when he was a kid, and then being able to shift over. And I just cannot believe that he's going to college. But time flies, and I'm sure Coach Bergstrom feels like that. Today's his birthday, so shout out Bergie as well. Right. Yeah, no, anytime you can add quality people that can also play, and then South Dakota State's going to mean, like I said, it's just going to mean more to him to be here than anywhere else.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dan. You made it through all 41 2025 commits.
We made it through.
There we go.
Good work. Yeah.
Awesome work. We love this class. We know you have the 12 transfers that are already here working out with you. And we know that you got some work that you want to do in the spring portal. Yep. Any hints at what you're maybe going after in this spring one, or just want to keep your cards close on that one?
The portal guys that we brought in, I think, have done a really nice job. We'll talk more of them at a different time, but they kind of the cool thing about them is they fit, and we had previous relationship, and those guys are just ready to work. It's cool when you do bring a kid in that super mature too. I mean, I think Isaiah Garcia Castaneda came in, and he got his own apartment. He got that figured out. He got a U-Haul. He got up here on his own. You need him to do something. I mean, he's like a 23-year-old grown man. It's a little bit different. Right. And but no, I'm always going to be a guy that Coach Stig taught me this. We're going to look from our team first. And I believe in the guys that we have on this roster. And I think there's going to be some guys this spring that really show up for us. And I'm going to take care of those guys, whether they're walk-ons or whatever we need to do. I'm going to take care of our team, and then we'll evaluate needs in the portal. But I got some connections at some places we'll utilize if we need to.
Sounds good. Any idea how many spots you're looking to fill in that window? Or just
like I said, it's going to depend.
Sure.
It'll depend a little bit because I think there's some guys on our team. There's 5 guys on our team that were walk-ons a year ago that I was surprised about that I've already been able to award a scholarship to on our team. And I think there's going to be more of that to come. And so I think once we get through, spring, I'll have a pretty clear picture as to what that is. And, I think it's tough to ever turn down a great player that can impact you right away. And the cool thing is, I think once we stabilize this year, that we can always be like a 80 to 90% high school operation still, because we're going to have a place. We're going to have a place that truthfully the kids don't want to leave. And we're going to have a place and a culture where when we need to add, 5 guys or something out of the transfer portal, they're going to die to be here. And so after we'll see. I mean, it could be 2, it could be 10. We'll see.
Sure. Sounds good. Anything else, Dan, you want to tell? We have a huge audience right now. I'm sure people are watching the basketball game. So anything else for Jackrabbit Nation tonight?
No, just grateful to be back. Loving every single second of it. Just, I appreciate everybody's patience with kind of us as we got everything rolling. And I feel like we're in an awesome position now to really attack this next phase of the program. Get your season tickets, come to the games. These kids love South Dakota State, and they love this place, and our staff does too. And we just guarantee everybody out there that you're going to get everything that these kids have and that our staff has. So can't wait to see them in the fall. And if I see you out in the community, make sure you say what's up.
Awesome. Hey, thank you very much, Dan. We really appreciate this last hour and a half you've given us. And this is, again, people's favorite episode. So if you're watching this on replay, go back and watch it again. Or if you watched it live, go back and watch it again because you're going to pick something else up. So appreciate you for doing this. Thank you.
You guys let me know what you need in the future. I'm going to get in trouble. I got to go take my wife to dinner. It's getting late.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Bye. With that, go big, go blue, go Jacks.